I finally found the time to start working on my GS300, and I go to start the car and it doesn't start. So after diagnosing a few things, I realized the fuel pump had gone out. And I really can't complain. The car is about 20 years old, and when I first got the car, I actually drove it an hour back home with no issues. So I think it's about time to start replacing some parts on the car. So at this point, I have two options. Either install a stock fuel pump or upgrade the fuel pump. I do plan on turbocharging the car, which would require the upgraded fuel pump. So I went ahead and ordered a new DeechWorks 255 fuel pump to give me that extra fuel pressure when I actually do decide to turbocharge the car. I know there's other options when it comes to fuel pumps. I know a lot of people run AEM or Walbro, but I've used DeechWorks before with their fuel injectors and I've never had any problems on my other applications, so I decided to go ahead and use them again. The fuel tank on this car is located in the trunk. In order for me to get to the fuel pump, I had to remove the lower and upper portions of the back seat and some trim pieces. This car is a perfect example of 90s engineering. When you take into consideration the year of the car and the fact that a lot of these plastics are still in decent condition even though they've been exposed to the sun, it tells a lot. Living in Florida and working on cars sometimes can be very challenging, especially with these newer cars. When you go to remove any trim pieces, they just crumble apart in your hand. In regards to plans for the car, I plan on keeping it as simple as possible. The main thing I want to do right now is obviously get this fuel pump working. And then next, I need to actually clean out the car. Since I purchased it, I actually haven't had the opportunity to go through the car, vacuum it, clean it out. It's really just been sitting. Next, I want to work on the suspension. I do have coilovers for it, but eventually I do want to bag the car, give it that nice VIP look. And of course, turbocharge it. I mean, come on, it's a 2JZ. You have to turbocharge the car. But since it is a non-VVTi, I'm going to have to figure out how I'm going to do the timing and a few other aspects. I do see that there's some guys now making trigger wheels for the timing components on these cars, the non-VVTis, so that's something I might consider. So at this point, I got the old fuel pump out of the car and I'm working on getting the new fuel pump in the fuel hanger. The kit itself comes with everything you need. It has the hoses, the clamps, wiring, and the fuel pump and fuel sock. Installation of the fuel pump wasn't hard, it's pretty straightforward. I actually used a worm gear clamp to hold the fuel pump to the hanger just as an added security. I don't plan on the pump moving around in the fuel tank, but I didn't like the way it sat in the fuel hanger. A lot of the newer cars actually have a fuel pump housing or cartridge that the fuel pump sits in, and it sits really secure inside the tank. I didn't like how it sat, the fuel pump against the hanger. It was a little loose, so just for peace of mind, I decided to go ahead and go with this route. And this is the old fuel pump. When I was actually taking it out of the car, the sock on the fuel pump, it actually crumbled apart in my hand. So I'm glad that I actually caught this now rather than being out on the road and it going out on me. Getting the fuel filter back in the car was a little tedious since the sock is a little bit bigger than the OEM one. So I had to sit there and kind of guide it into the tank. But eventually I was able to get it in and then start to bolt everything back up. Once I got everything bolted up, I actually got the car started and I moved it into the garage. The last thing I wanted to start working on was the fuel pump ECU. The GS300 came with a fuel pump ECU, and what that did was it lowered the voltage to the fuel pump at idle. The job or the idea behind this was to extend the life of the fuel pump. So removing the fuel pump ECU would send 12 volts to the fuel pump at all times. And majority of cars today run 12 volts to the fuel pump anyway. So it wouldn't even affect the fuel pump that I just got. In order to get this done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the wires that would normally be connected to the ECU, and I'm going to splice them together so the pump gets a constant 12 volts. Once I get everything together, the next thing that I would have to do is actually test to make sure everything is running and the car starts up fine. And there you have it, the car starts, I'm good to go. So that's one thing checked off my list. The next thing is to put everything back together. And I'm actually gonna start working on the interior. I have some IS300 seats that I wanna convert and put in this car. So that's gonna be the next project. Again, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.